there. A lot of things that I'm not going to cover. Obviously, there's some hot button issues that have made the media, made the press. But I just want to say, I think the gorilla in the room is the wheel tax, the $15 minimum wage for some county employees, and also the third thing would be that the county executive, the first time in any of his budgets, wanted to raise the tax levy. Normally, he's come into the county board with a 0% tax levy, and some years the board has raised it. Last year, they raised it exactly $4 million, which was equivalent to the $4 million that the county exec gave to the Milwaukee Bucks, and he will for the next 19 years. So $4 million of every budget for the next 19 years, we have a hole because of the Milwaukee Bucks arena. So I'll quickly just address those three gorillas. The first one would be the wheel tax. The county executive proposed a $60 wheel tax. It's not very popular, but the reality is it's in the budget, the way it sits right now. And if we remove it out of the budget, we have a $27 million hole. Now, $27 million, that's roughly what Oak Creek's budget is every year, right, Chris? About a little bit more, yeah. Franklin's is around that amount. So that's what just a normal city in the suburbs, their normal budget is. That's how much the wheel tax, if you take it out of the equation, that is how much we have to fill that hole. About $11 million of that is for transit, for the operations of the bus system. And the rest of them would be in capital projects, half of which is to transit. So if we remove that $60 wheel tax, we create that hole, we got to fill it. We either have to cut services, raise fees elsewhere. We can't raise taxes to beyond a certain dollar amount based on state law. So that would be the first step, or the first issue. The second one is the $15 an hour. I know that bothers a lot of people like myself. That really affects about 200 to 300 county employees. It's only county employees, and it's implemented between now and 2022. So it's a gradual increase to get to $15 an hour. Yet it's still $15 an hour. To me, it should be a federal issue. It shouldn't be a county issue, that's for sure. And the last thing, like I said, would be the levy. I mean, we have to live within our means as residents. We know what we bring home every year. Maybe we get a raise at the end of the year, maybe we don't, but I don't. I took a half a pay. But it's tough to go to the taxpayers and ask for additional dollars, even though the way that Governor Walker and the Republicans in Mass and state law, you can raise your levies to growth, whatever the growth occurs within the county or growth occurs within the city. The municipality or the county is allowed to raise the levy to that. When you don't, and if you take a look at something as simple as your own budget, what happens every year? You can usually expect groceries to go up, utilities to go up. I mean, the cost of living goes up every year, and if you only collect the same amount of money, you eventually, the only thing you can do is cut. So that's a problem. I know we're doing that. I mean, I'm also an alderman in Franklin and have been, besides a very small window, since 2008. And it's nice to do 0% levies, but the reality is at the end of the day, costs keep on going up. Healthcare costs, employee costs, I said costs to continue. And at some point, the only thing you can do is cut services. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons, whether or not you should have, one less fall pickup for your brush or not. And that's going to cost each individual another $4 on their tax bill. I mean, you have to look at what priorities you have within the city, no different with the county. We basically control everything between the airport and the zoo. A to Z, you name it, the county's involved with it. Our parks, our golf courses, our lakefronts, our highways, all of our cultural centers. There's a lot that Milwaukee County does that we don't have to. I mean, there's nothing the state says we parks or golf courses or museums, but those are quality of life things that the residents of Milwaukee County enjoy. And we have almost $300 million of deferred maintenance in our park system, our highways, and that. So we have major deficits. And that goes all the way back to when the governor was county exec, and he took sales tax revenue that was supposed to take care of capital funding, capital financing, and he put that into operations so he could not raise taxes. And as a result, now we have this deferred maintenance. And those are some real problems. I mean, 13th Street is a little bit better than it was. That's because, when I got elected back in 2012, I said, this is unacceptable. We have the same problem in Franklin, and we had certain issues in Hales Corners regarding the Hales Corners pool. So 13th Street, you have the first mile. That's going to be done. We did some sort of temporary fix. It was like a hot in place. We never did it before here in Milwaukee County. It's better than it was before we did it, but it's not as good as the next 2 miles all the way to Ryan Road. And that's just to get us to when we do full construction. So from Rawson to Drexel is 2018, and Drexel to Putes would be 2019. And that is going to be, based on traffic counts, the same 2 lane, not 4 change. You're looking at a 4-lane sidewalks. Whatever you saw north of Rawson was how it would have looked. But now because of traffic counts, you can't justify it. So the good thing is the cost has come down, and we're actually going to reallocate some of that money and redo the portion of Rawson that's yet to be done between 27th Street and the interstate. So, we're trying to, I'm trying, because my predecessor served for 10 years, and I know how he operated on the county board. There's a reason why I ran in 2012, and he wasn't capable of getting things accomplished because he wasn't either there, or he just voted no on everything and didn't want to work with my colleagues now. And this is not Madison or Washington D.C. where it's Republican have to vote party line. If you want to get things done, you got to compromise. And I've been criticized for going to the courthouse and working with my colleagues. I've never voted on a budget, not one budget. I've never voted to raise taxes, yet we've gotten $10 million worth of road projects and about $1 million worth of park improvements. Those are all things I'm proud of. I ran because of our structural deficit in the part of the county, so I'm proud of that, and we'll just continue to move on. So I want to open up to any questions that you guys have regarding, I can talk for hours. That's part of the job, right? But I want to turn it over to you guys. We have till 6:30. At 6:30, I get in the car. I got to drive to Hales Corners to Burner. If you haven't had a chance yet to check out China Lights, it is amazing. I mean, go early because it becomes a part of the lines. We're working on some improvements in the budget. I am for like the comfort station, which is like the bathroom. It's not ADA accessible outside, and yeah, we have porta potties and stuff like that for this event, but under normal circumstances, those aren't there. But we're working on getting China Lights back for the next 2 years this year, but we want to bring it back if we can because it's been very successful. We actually extended it to November 6th, so if you get a chance, it's a great thing. That's a jewel in this county. So I'll turn over some questions. And well, okay, free bus passes. So there you go. See, that's an interesting topic. Last year during the budget, the county had this thing called the Go Pass, and it was free passes for seniors and also disabled. Now, it's funny, in the back of the room is Casper Green, Franklin resident. He was president of the Franklin Seniors for, I think, like 16 years. He was on the Commission on Aging. He served for 6 years. He's no longer on the Milwaukee County Commission on Aging. I serve on the Commission on Aging. I have since 2012. That body voted no on the free bus passes for seniors and the disabled because it was what the deficit would have cost, what it would cost transit. And it costs us around $4 million in lost revenue. So when you see the wheel tax and $11 million of that $27 million is for operation, well, that's 4 out of the 11. That's like 40% of the deficit caused by the Go Pass that no one asked for. And the executive's plan, which I totally disagree with, is to keep the Go Pass going instead of trying to end it and have a one-time fee to, like for $5 to get a card, so actual ID, so you're going to pay $5 for an ID, and then 25 cents for each ride. 25 cents. I mean, are you serious? I don't carry change. I don't know the last time I carried any change, but people will, I guess now. But why not $1? What's the deal here? You know, why you already had reduced rates for seniors. So Go Pass definitely costs us ridership to begin with. So I think decisions have to be made on cutting routes, you know. And the thing is, and what I said very early on when the county executive came to the finance, not finance, but the county board committee, the whole, how can I go to my district and judge this wheel tax when buses barely come into our city limits? I mean, Alderman Gurkowski, where does Oak Creek? It goes into Drexel Town Square. That's it. Nowhere else. So it kind of comes in, turns around, leaves. You know, Hales Corners comes into Grange. They have the park and ride, which is in Greenfield, leaves. Franklin goes to leaves. Kind of tough to go to the people in this area. Now, granted, some drive to the park and ride. I know people in Oak Creek that go to the park and ride in Ryan Road. They get on that bus, they ride it, you know. Now, is that going to stop? Is that going to be a cut? I don't think so, because it's used well enough from not just city of Oak Creek residents, but, you know, Caledonia, places to the south use it as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lead? No. There's low. They're doing a whole thing with lead laterals and that too right now. Yeah, I remember the movie. It's a good movie. Well, that's a city of Milwaukee issue. That's not a Milwaukee County issue. And the thing is, city of Milwaukee has enough problems themselves to be investing in something like that. You look at crime. Well, I'll get you next. We look at crime. The question is a little bit about the trolley, but it's also really about the wheel tax. I mean, like I said, I don't vote on the trolley. You know, there's different studies that say that will help with economic development. It's already going to be driving in areas where it's already developed. You know, I don't know a lot of people that are going to come into downtown Milwaukee, park their car, take the trolley to go another 6 or 8 blocks or anything like that. Makes no sense. I mean, I have a parking spot at the courthouse. I have Marquette season tickets at the Bradley Center. I park at the courthouse and I walk blocks or whatever. I mean, I don't think I would park if the trolley came to pick me up and wait for it to take me then down to the Bradley Center or wherever the next place is going to be, just to the north. You know, the wheel tax. I mean, the county definitely has a revenue problem. You know, you have employee cost. I mean, we used to have 11,000 employees. Now we have about 4,600 employees. But you still have all the retirees. You have the benefits that we still are obligated to pay because it was a part of the agreement. You know, we're not going back on that. That's, you know, that is the public sector. They're now increasing. You know, they're paying for some healthcare costs, and current employees are paying for healthcare costs. Act 10 did a lot of things to change how the public sector works. But we have a major revenue problem in the county and the municipalities because at the state of Wisconsin, they made, you know, when the governor, you know, took office and they passed Act 10 and other decisions that they've made, they've passed the buck onto municipalities and local levels of government. I mean, when they balance their budget in Madison and talk about, oh, we're doing such great things there, they also have cut from us. So somebody's got to pay for it. So it's a shell game. We're doing 0% in Madison, but we're not giving you as much for your roads. So when you cut shared revenue, and there's been huge transportation cuts to Milwaukee County and the local municipalities, and large cuts in shared revenue to Milwaukee County and the local municipalities, who do you think's paying the bill? You guys are. So when they brag about the cuts that have been going on in Madison, you're still paying the same. I haven't noticed like my life got so much better where I have all this I'm rolling in cash because of decisions in Madison, because I'm still paying the bill here locally. So the wheel tax, the county executive, who he is fiscally, he has been, he is very, fiscally conservative. I mean, there's a number on this county board. Sheldon Wasserman, Democrat in the state legislature for I think a dozen years, conservative Democrat fiscally. Tony Staskunas, 16 years as a state rep. He represents part of Franklin, all of Greendale, some of Greenfield and West Dallas. Very fiscally responsible. So you have these, maybe they call them blue dog Democrats or whatever, but the county executive sees, like, we came into this budget alone, $36 million in the hole. Eventually, you cannot play around with enough categories, enough departments to come up and fill that gap. When these budget shortfalls were on the horizon for everybody, and when Act 10 happened, you could go and say, all right, employees, you're going to pay 12% towards your health care or 6% towards your retirement. And maybe you didn't go that way in year one, but eventually you got to the limits where you really can go and ask. Then where do you go? So now, and 5 years from now, when we start this budget, and thank God I won't be around for this one, $82 million as of right now is what our hole will be before we start. That's because of the structural deficits that are set up. And, people will say, well, just blow up county government. Just get rid of it. Well, those problems, what are you going to do, pass them on, have a metro government? There's a lot of issues you can have if that's the case. So, yeah, I think I give the county executive the courage, actually, to actually propose something like this, because at the committee of the whole, when he presented his budget, he said 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought there'd be a chance I'd be recommending this budget with a tax increase and with a wheel tax. But this is where we're at, and he explained it all. And I said to him, before I asked my question about how can I justify to this part of the county to support it, I said, 5 years ago? How about 5 months ago when you were running for re-election, when he was hammering Chris Larson about wanting to raise a sales tax? I mean, he criticized, like, you raising taxes is the worst thing you can do. The thing that Chris Larson was talking about was a 1%, but also going to referendum so the voters could actually decide. In Milwaukee County, we all have certain recreational or cultural things that we like. I like to golf, but I also like going to the public museum. When they did Old Milwaukee, redid Old Milwaukee, I couldn't wait to see what it looked like. Some people go down to the beach. I don't choose to swim in that lake, but some people do, or fish for that matter. The domes is something that a lot of people really love, and they want us to keep it. Many people want us to keep it. It's like $75 million. So the thing is, if you're ever going to ask a referendum question, and we all have some priority that we really like in this county, that's what should have happened. And that's what Chris Larson was talking about. Let the voters decide, let them cast a vote. The majority says, let's do this, then let's do this. And not like the Miller Park 1% or 0.1 was. We're talking like a 5-year deal like they do in Oklahoma City. They do like 5 years. They're going to raise X amount of money, and it's going to end. Plus, if you do like a 1% deal and the voters approve it, then all the people that come into Milwaukee County and spend money, they're helping fund our cultural centers, our parks, our golf courses, our highways, our roads, all of our deferred maintenance. So I'm going to go, we're going to go here first, and then we'll go back there. Okay, yep. Yeah. Yeah, there's that part of the whole transit budget is, comes out, helps pay for that. I think, let's say, I want to believe it's around $26 a ride, and people pay $4, I believe. They pay a small dollar amount, I think around $4, but the ride costs $26. So Milwaukee County subsidizes that. So when I talk about, and I'm glad you're bringing this up, the question is regarding Transit Plus and, what was the other one? Transit Express. So basically, you have people that use like a bus type of situation, not like a big bus, but like a little vehicle or a little shuttle bus to take them to doctor's appointments or grocery stores and things like that, because they can't drive or don't drive. And what I remind people, and I'm really glad the question was brought up, because yes, bus service doesn't come in really to our district, but we have a high usage of Transit Plus because it doesn't. Because you don't have a stop right on the street corner where someone could walk to. My grandma, she lived in Hales Corners. She never drove. My grandfather drove everywhere. And when he passed away, she was still close enough, always lived in Hales Corners, right behind Consumers Beverages off of Highway 100. And there was a grocery store right around the corner, so she could pull her little cart and walk down the street and go grocery shopping and then come back. Well, it was a Red Owl, and then it was something else. But when it closed up, and that's where the fitness center is, then it was my mom who lived in Muskego, or my aunt who lived in Racine, or my uncle then who lived there to take care of her in her later years, and lives in the house now. She had family to do that. Some people don't. They don't. Their family lives all around the state or out of state. And so Transit Plus is a service that Milwaukee County provides for residents, and it's subsidized by tax levy dollars. And federal and state, just like transit is too. To run a bus system is extremely expensive. If I don't have the dollar amount in my head, but I mean, this is a $1.2 billion budget, so it's a huge operation. At times, yes, they are definitely. I mean, and the newer ones we're buying are environmental friendly. They're more efficient. The way they operate. And that's the thing is, decisions we're making are saving money. But eventually, you can't all right, we have the most efficient buses. Eventually, that's what they all are. So now there's no more savings. It's like saying, okay, if we take every light in your house and put LEDs, your energy bill is going to go down. But then what's the next move you make? Eventually, you're tapped out of ideas. And then, like I said, you either have to do major cuts to services. There are so many people in this county that are dependent on buses, and employers that are dependent on buses. And you have to work at partnerships. This is a problem with when it came up with Go Pass. With Northwestern Mutual, who was basically saying, we would help, maybe get a bus route down to our campus in Franklin. We would help maybe subsidize it themselves. Our employees could, but without really finishing that conversation, they went to the Go Pass. Part of the Go Pass was bringing the bus service to Oak Creek at Drexel Town Square, and you had no leverage. You lost all your leverage, and they stopped talking to Northwestern Mutual. So that conversation still could take place, but now it's already down this far. Do you think they're going to give us as much money just to go a little bit down the road, compare it, and then back on the interstate as they would have if it had been the initial one? Plus, I was opposed to that route at that time, as was Mayor Scafidi, because when the route was coming down here 8 months early, before anything was going to be open. And the argument from the chairwoman of the county board, Dimitrijevic, at the time was, well, the employees could use it. What, the construction workers don't have rides to get to work? I mean, come on, that was ridiculous. So I voted against the Go Pass and that route, and it was criticized by my colleagues saying, I can't believe you're not supporting a route to your district. Well, a route that has an empty bus, you don't need to run this thing for 8 months. So you should have done the amendment differently. So. Because it tipped, no. Because we're not going to get in this conversation about TIF. No, we're not going to get into that. You have an issue with the city of Oak Creek with their TIF districts. Yes, you do. Yes. We do. But we're not going, this is not the, this is, listen, this is my meeting and we're not going to have this. This is my meeting. We're not going to have this conversation because that is irrelevant. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm going to, well, if you be quiet for a second. Well, look, yeah, exactly. Let's not play this. This is, Albert, that's who calls in and does this all the time. Here's the reality. When you have a TIF district, this is how it works. You have 5 entities make a decision on a boundary, and any of the increment created in that boundary stays within that boundary to pay off the cost to put it in. So, for example, if you're going to do a business park and you're going to put in sewer and water, let's say it costs $10 million. You create this TIF district, this boundary, and the entities that decide it is the school district, the city, the county, MATC, and one at-large person from that municipality. Most of the time, they look at the numbers. Could this project happen without the TIF? If it fits that test, then they create the TIF. So that means on the new construction, only the new construction. So if they're within this boundary is $25 million of increment, that money still goes back to the county, still goes back to the school district, still goes back to MATC, it goes back to everybody. But all the new money that's created within that boundary, that money goes to pay off the cost of the infrastructure, the sewer, the water, the street light, and things like that. And part of the decision when you make it is, could this project, this TIF work, but for the TIF? If the answer is yes, they're going to create it. If the answer is no, they're not going to create it. And now, Crystal Ridge, it's a $102 million project, $6 million, $22 million, but interest about $22 million worth of incentives, either developer incentives or infrastructure improvement. That's a 4.5 to 1 ratio. You want to be at 4 to 1. We're above that. I supported doing that. It's the right thing to do for our community. If not for that TIF, that development's not happening, Milwaukee County wouldn't see anything. So that's how this works. I'm not going to go into TIFs. I know you've had issues in this room with this common council, with the mayor. I'm not going to get involved in that. You call my office. This is not the format. I want to talk to residents. I think do you guys know? You understand? They're nodding their head. They're okay. Will you please be quiet? Will you please be quiet? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're being rude. Will you please be quiet? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, some of the you have coming in, you have to make decisions, you know. When it comes to bike pass, most of the time involved, you know, grants that come, 80-20 matching, a lot of times. So it's not, same thing with sidewalks. But that's a city. I mean, if you're talking about, if you live in the city of Milwaukee, you take it up with them because that's a city issue. That's not, if you live in Oak Creek, you take it up with your alderman. But I mean, well, but that's the city of Milwaukee. That does not affect you and your. And I'm here representing the county as your representative. I can't control what the city of Milwaukee does. But the thing is, we are not bailing them out. Those are decisions that they make. You would think. No, we're not, because state legislature already passed something that said that the county can't take that over. So good luck at that. So, I mean, well, that's state law. So it always can be changed. Casper. I'm 40 now. I get the gray hairs to prove it. No, we got 6 o'clock. We still got a half an hour, so we're good. Yeah, 6 years. Right, right. That's the but for. Mhm. Right. I get that call once a week, so, right, Albert? Wilson Park, yeah. Mhm. Sure, sure. Yeah, Claire. Hmm. Right. Mm. I didn't pay him anyway to say that. That's yeah, I know. Is it my turn? Is it my turn or is it Tom Taylor's? I think it's Tom's. We should get him over here, former Mayor Franklin. No, I think what Casper mentioned, consensus, I think is extremely important. And, talking to my colleagues on the county board, I met with the chairman today. I mean, this is a tight budget. It's definitely, this is my fifth one. It's the worst one we've had because you really have some hot button issues. I mean, even the Bucks Arena last year was already concocted and signed off on before it never came to the county. But the budget comes out and he has a 0% budget. He's got $10 million worth of cuts in the sheriff's department. Well, $4 million was, I'm sure, the Bucks arena. Or you could pick any part of the county and says, well, I used to get more money, so just you can percentage it through parks and everything else. But the reality was that's a $4 million, that's $80 million over 20 years that we have to fork over to billionaires that own to build their arena, which is the same exact amount that the state of Wisconsin has to pay. Same exact amount that the state of Wisconsin has to pay, $80 million, yet they had the most to lose because of the jock tax. We had basically nothing to lose. So that shows that the county executive is not a good deal maker at all. So when it comes to consensus, I think you either have some people on the board that are no to any wheel tax. You have some that are okay with it, but you have then probably the majority that would be okay, but a smaller amount. So my guess is that if I'm to predict, there's going to be a wheel tax, but it's not going to be $60. Now that doesn't help me in my area, and it doesn't even allow me to add things into the budget that I can't support because I'm not going to be able to support it. I'd love to be able to support a budget that says, you know what, inflation has gone up this much. We haven't raised, we were raising taxes $4 million, based on growth through the county, no additional, really more than $1 or $2 per 100,000. So I mean, if my taxes, me personally, if my taxes for the county went up $15, yet I still got, certain roads done, certain things at my pool done, put money into Burner Botanical Garden, I could live with that. Now, people with fixed income may say, I don't know, Steve, $15 is a lot of money, for the course of the year. I'm never going to argue that. But the problem is, if we come to will happen, you still have that $27 million hole. So now what's the hole? 13 million, 10 million? You're still talking about real cuts. So how, just to continue services the way they are, so how do you get $400,000 into Burner to basically take a bathroom, the one bathroom that's sitting there that's not even ADA compliant, that has numerous problems, it's outdated, and we're bringing, I want to say probably, I'm going to say tens of thousands for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if you're over 100,000 on this China Lights. And there have been people that have come and said, I've never been here before. I can't wait till summertime. I can't wait. So we're going to bring more and more people back. And, I grew up in Muskego. So I was there for 18 years and went to college in La Crosse and was gone from this area for a dozen. And so Burner Botanical Gardens is something that means a lot to me. I mean, my wife, who passed away a year ago, July, there's a tree. If you get up there, there's right by the between the garden house and the main building is a kind of a centerpiece tree it's all lit up. I actually planted Arbor Day right before, and it was dedicated by the Friends. And there's a plaque that the county executive, he actually paid for the plaque and that. And right now there's yellow and red mums. They do a very nice job in the spring with their plantings and then the fall. But that place means something to me and a lot of people in the area I represent. No different than Ware Nature Center. So in the budget, my job is to try to, be fiscally responsible, but also say, you know what? I represent 54,000 people. And for a decade, we didn't get anything down here. Trying to make up for that. But to do that, you have to go and work with these people that are, I'm on the right. Casper said him and I politically don't always agree. He's on the left side of the aisle. I'm on the right side of the aisle. But, we agree about more things than I think we sometimes think about, because there's always a way to get to a common ground. Yeah, I know. That's what age does for you. But consensus is important. Oh, yeah. It was a weird project. She did. Yeah, she was very lucky. Midge was lucky. Yep. Yeah, I've never seen a project where it switches, because I on my Facebook page, I got a supervisor Facebook page, and when I get the thing from the DOT changes, yeah, it's pretty much all my district in the border. Yeah, actually, it is all mine. But that's a state project. I have no say on it. But when I would get the updates from the state, I would post that on Facebook and let people know, what the routes, how they're going to change. Oh, yeah, it's, 1 minute you think it's something. Right. So any other questions? Who else has some questions? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And no, and actually they like to be left alone. I talk to Mayor Scafidi all the time. I mean, if there was an issue, I would hear about it from them. Um, the reality, no, I know. The, right. Right. When I got elected in 12, none of the projects in the three cities I represent were on the 5-year radar at all. And I sat down with engineering from all three departments in May of 2012, and basically moved projects forward. Actually, moved these in. So now that's why 18, which would be year 6, and year 7 would be 2 miles. Now we've done the improvements to the part to the north. It's no different in Franklin on 76th Street, or we did 76th Street in 12, where eventually it gets to Ryan Road and it's done. And actually it gets to the Ball Diamonds and it's still bad. Now what we're doing this October, today actually, is we're going to do like a mill and overlay in Franklin from the Ball Diamonds right past right to the Hideaway. I see that probably happening from Ryan Road south of the county line, hopefully in the next few years, because to get us to the full construction. But like I said, $300 million for maintenance, and they look at traffic counts, they look at all those things. The reason why, if you read my newsletters, or people would say, well, he's from Franklin, that's why the Franklin projects got done first. Well, no, the reason why the Franklin ones got done first was because, number one, when they were done, the city was going to take them over. So now Franklin is taking over North Cape, St. Martin's, and 68th Street. These are now City of Franklin roads when St. Martin's is done. So next year in August is when they'll do a transfer, or a jurisdictional transfer. But when those projects need to be done in 25 years, they'll be $5 million projects on the city taxpayers. So that was a big take for the city of Franklin, but they had a desire to take those road projects over once it was done. Oak Creek is not taking over 13th Street. We're not giving it up. And when those projects in 2012, when we sat down, each of them were about $4.5 million, each mile, $4.5 million, because it was 4 lanes. Now they're not going to be 4 lanes, so that cost has come down, and we'll be able to still get it done and then reallocate money, throughout the county, because this is not just, well, the savings just go to my area. We have to find where it is needed more than, if you think our roads are bad, go to some other parts of the county. They're just as bad, so it's not the one. I just have been, I think, colleagues, and I put that deal together right away when I got elected. Chairman of Transportation, Michael Mayo, and the county executive, and I work really good with county staff. I defend them when they need to be defended. I call them out privately when they need to be called out. When I pick up the phone and say, because I got a call one time saying, hey, on 13th, where it turns on to Oakwood, it was really bad in that, so we sent out highway, and highway, did some improvements. So, I am aware of it. I'm going to use what we did on 76th Street in Franklin with a mill and overlay, and say, why can't we do the same thing? So that's something I'd like to see happen, but you're not going to get full reconstruction down that way for a while. It just, there's, and it's not that I'm not trying. I just know, where we are on the list. And it was hard enough to get the first 2 miles on the list because of how expensive they are. When you only spend, we have a self-imposed cap. I think it's up to about 40 million now, but it was about 38 million dollars when I first got elected. About 7 or 8 million capital of that 36, 37 was highways. That's bridges, that's roads, that's it. So when you have one project, $4.5 million, we put money in, the next year put money in, and then the road has to be, to qualify to get federal funding, the road has to be a certain condition. So if we do a repair, so we could say, hey, we're gonna redo this in 18, but if we do a repair and the repair is, then the state comes in and does the grading and says, no, that doesn't qualify. So you almost have to let the road crumble to like Detroit to be able to, yeah, but it's not. You think it is, I'll take you places where it's not. The Southwest? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Well, eventually the interchange is gonna, there's be interchange of I-90. Yeah, it's gonna happen. No, it will. I mean, no, well, it depends. No, I mean, depends. No, because if you take a look. Yeah. If you take a look at, I can't. Sure. Well, look at the park that they're doing on the lakefront now. The park they're doing on the lakefront, people didn't see that ever going to happen, and it has happened. So Oak Creek is doing a lot of really good things. Yeah, but Oak Creek has the same problems that the county has. You only have so much money to go around. You have to prioritize. You have to look where the people are. You look at density and things like that. That's the reality. Right. Like I said, it comes down to density. I mean, it comes down to traffic counts. There's statistics that make decisions. You want that. You want that. I mean, when we have a roads program in Franklin, that there's no politics involved. It's called the PACER program. They rate every single road in spring, every road, on a 1 to 10 scale. And that's when they do the budget and we do the roads program. It's the worst roads get done. So if it was a popularity contest, or I'm Democrat or I'm Republican, well, then we would have nothing, because the person that was there before me was just like me in terms of political philosophy, yet he didn't go down there and play ball. He didn't play ball and got nothing done. Nothing done. And that's why we have the problems. If you'd have went there, I mean, he got elected to the county board, and they tried to close in 2004 or 5, right around that period of time. They tried to close Hales Corners pool. Executive Walker tried to close the pool. He fought and fought and fought. It was going to take an amendment to raise the levy to keep it open. Pat Jurczyk had to bring it in. Here's his own district, the city he lives in, and he didn't have the backbone to bring in an amendment to support his own pool. So, I mean, that's the problem. You have to go down there and work to get things done. And you have to look at statistics. So I know what you're saying. And I'm telling you, we've gotten more done in 4.5 years than we did the previous 15 years. When Lewandowski got recalled, and she ran for clerk against Kathy this last time, or the first time in 12. but she got recalled because of the pension scandal. Leonstein, yeah, Leanne Lowenstein. She got right. She was here. How come these things weren't done then? So, I have a great relationship with Mayor Scafidi, the alderman, Jerry Peterson's your administrator. Tomorrow's his last day, I think. We'll keep on working. We got 10 minutes. Yes. Oh, it's a big part. Sure. It'll be in that manual, I'm sure. The legacy cost is a part of, it's our problem. It's General Motors' problem. It's Ford. It's Chrysler. I mean, anytime you have unions, you do have a legacy cost. But you understand, at the time when these deals were done, these contracts were done, employees didn't take raises. They took future benefits. I mean, that when they give up year after year after year, and no one, and frankly, when the benefits they were getting with the whole package of income and benefits paled in comparison to what people in the private sector are making when they were getting big bonuses and matching 401ks and things like that. And they could have cared less that their neighbor worked for the county or the city until the economy collapsed and the matching 401ks stopped. And the pensions went away in the private sector pensions. When those went away, then they looked at their neighbors saying, well, why do you get that? Well, they gave up a lot. A lot of employees gave up a lot in terms of salary to have those benefits. And then Act 10 forced them to have to pay some back in terms of healthcare costs and that. So, but there's a legacy cost. I don't know what the breakdown is, but it's there. But the county's actually in a pretty good position. There's just an article in the paper maybe 2 weeks ago how we have our pension really funded well compared to a lot of places. So, it's been a lot of work. And, the pension scandal, like I said, before my time, I was living in Michigan when that went down. The fact that, not Mercer, I can't think of the name now. The fact that they paid $45 million in a settlement because they lied. They lied to the county board. Merck? No, it's not Merck. Mercer, whatever it is. But they lied, and they had to pay $45 million. I mean, when I have to make a decision, I make sure I get everything I can, but I'm trusting on advisors or county staff to sit there and they're telling you, and then you're reading, you're doing your research. And you had people like Mark Borkowski, good friend of mine. He voted for the pension. Now, he didn't get recalled, but he voted for it. There were some that voted for it, and they were based on what they were told, and they made a decision. Now, for me personally, the workload that the county board has is the same as it was before April. Yet, my salary was cut in half, and so I don't have as much time to do that job. So, I'm up late at night all the time, reading, on the phone all the time. I started a business, so it's a lot of work. And if I don't have an answer that I'm comfortable with, I'm voting no. Because I'm not going to be pulled in some trap because, we gotcha. Well, I represent the same amount of people as a state rep. I have one staffer, Albert, back there that I split with another person. We have plenty of work to do. So, all that we do, yes. Yes. We sure do. You have to. I mean, it's there. Yeah. So there's a few people. One of them was Hector Cologne, our director of Health and Human Services, was given a $50,000 raise, and the county right now there's a lawsuit. The county board sued the county executive, and right now that is in the court system. I think the judge said he will have an answer to us by February, early February. But we've basically, this has been going on for over a year, but we sued because we said, no, we're the ones that established the boundaries, the parameters on, the pay ranges. We're the ones that set the ranges. You went above and beyond the range, and the county executive unilaterally made that decision, just like he's made many decisions. I mean, I don't want to get into all the politics, but I mean, the Estabrook Dam is a perfect example. You know, it started with he wanted the Park East was right next to the Bradley Center. That's where the Bucks wanted to build their stadium. The county, it was assessed at around $9 million. The county board wasn't just going to give it away. So he went to Madison, worked with the Republicans. They gave him the authority over all county properties, except for parkland, and he unilaterally gave that for $1 to the Bucks. Then in the budget, the state gave the Bucks $5 million for cleanup. I mean, it was such a shady deal. And now, so we had to do is all throughout the entire county, we had to rezone land that was, you and I would say, our parks, that weren't zoned parkland. Because the executive got caught with his pants down and said, wait a second here. So we asked the board, anything that was considered parkland, agriculture, we rezoned all that. It took months to do. We're here now, and yet he can't get the Estabrook Dam through the county board. And even though the policy of the county is to repair it going back to like 2008, 2009, so what is he doing? He's going to ask the city of Milwaukee to rezone that little stretch of a park, which he could do anywhere then, any city. He could come to Oak Creek and say, yeah, Bender Park, let's turn that into a private, yacht club. And if the city's willing to do it, they could do it. That's how simple, that's how just ugly this is. So he's trying to flip that into out of parkland, so then the city of Milwaukee can sell it for $1 to MMSD to then tear it down, and then the people to the north, the 160 houses, have an attorney that's going to sue. They're going to win. I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars of lost property value. I think maybe 13, 14 lost property value. Now the city's going to be on the hook for it. The county won't, because we're not making the decision. They are. And then they're going to rezone it back to parkland. Now I just got a letter from Alberta Darling and Sam Flippo carboned in saying to the city of Milwaukee, don't do this. And I'm laughing you know what off, because they gave him the power to do this. Well, what did you think was going to happen? You trust this guy? What has he done at MPS schools? Did he do the reforms? So that's the reality. That's the reality that we have here. Yeah. All right. It's 6:30. Or we got 2 minutes. One last question. Then we got to zip to Hales Corners for the next hour. I try to make my life interesting. Yeah. Sure. Anytime. Yep. You want to send my email and stuff, right? You want to send me an email and reminder, and Albert and I will get on that tomorrow. We'll figure out what you're talking about. Do you know what the article? Can you find the article online? Do you know? TV? Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you can link that to me or give me a call so I can have a little more information, yeah, we'll get on that for you. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. You guys, you have my number. You know that you call, we'll get back in touch with you. We'll work on 13th, south of Ryan. We will. I mean, I want to see that done too. I actually, as I'm sitting here, it was from your alderman, and he said, having our meeting, I wanted to ask you about 13th Street south of Ryan Road. Great explanation on the TIF. Yeah, so Chris is good. The other text I have from him is a couple days after my election saying congrats on the win from the Oak Creek Six. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Tim, thanks for being here tonight.